Okay, test, 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 test. Hey, so what's up? This is What's Up Dave. This is my daily-ish stream this week where I just catch up with my friends on the internet, let them know what I'm up to project-wise, and just sharing a few thoughts that are on my mind today. Today, there's a few things to look at. I got this book over here that just came in, The Visual History of Type. And let me turn that down. So that seems to be working. Let me pop this up there. So what I'm doing today is, this is the second day of reestablishing habits this week. I was off for 2 weeks just kind of getting used to some new ones. Like one was starting a new diet, which was, actually it's been about 4 weeks on that, but the week before that, or 2 weeks before that, I was resetting all of my productivity schedule stuff because I was kind of in this bad place. And I'd realized that I just had too many lingering projects going on, so I started closing them down, closing chapters. So I've closed 2 major chapters right now. There's still some lingering things, but I already feel much better. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by stuff, try closing down some projects. You know, just finish them. You know, so they're done for now, and I'm not going to look at them until such time when I get a few other things done. So what I'm working on now is, other than reestablishing my habits, one of them is going to the gym and the diet stuff. But another one is just decluttering the space. So one of the things I did recently, I'm not sure if this is the, let me set up this camera. 1 second. Let's go to split view because that's a little bit more interesting. This is the book I was going to look at. Let me just set up this camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a program called NewTek NDI Monitor. Let's disable that. What NDI is it's, I think it's Network Digital Interface. I forget what it's called. But what it does is allow you to connect video sources over the internet or over a regular IP network. So instead of having cables, you use Ethernet cables, essentially, to do the same thing. So now I think this is live now. So although it seems to be on the wrong page. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so what I've got going on here, let me just show you around the house. So I need the split screen view, I think. Now we can go, or this is the NDI chat mode. Okay, so there's the book. So one of the things I was working on was just like this living room area here. And I reorganized it. If you saw it yesterday, I don't know if I had done this, but I put the subwoofer over here. And so now it's kind of dampened by this, but that's actually not a bad thing for subwoofers. Before it was very echoey. This is over here for now, but one issue I have is like this lamp, I think, looks, well, this lamp here looks kind of awkward, so I want to move this to the other side and kind of tuck it back in the corner over there, and then move this one over there, and then I can maybe make the heights even. And then also, another improvement I want to make is like this mixer over here, and this wireless transmitter over there, which is like running my microphone that I'm wearing this microphone essentially. It's awkward to plug and unplug, so I'm going to go buy some remote outlets from Home Depot later on today, and see if that will fix that issue. So I could just like flick a switch, and then that will remotely turn on and off. But otherwise, that's really what's new in the office organization space. Things are coming along a little bit better, so that makes me happy. Let me shut this thing off so I don't kill my battery. Alright, so let's see what else is on the order of business. I'm just trying to use this week to reestablish the gym habit. I did my first gym session today where I went to the gym before actually eating anything. And I'm told by my friend Carl that what this does is it gets your body starting to burn calories, and it lasts for several hours afterwards. So it's a way of, I think, promoting fat burning. And since I'm also doing a low-carb diet, which is essentially slow-carb now, I start with Atkins induction, in which you have a very limited diet. But I think the slow-carb might work better for me in terms, well, one, I have type 2 diabetes now. And secondly, I'm getting used to the diet. So I'm finding I'm not missing sugar and bread a whole lot. If I have a cheat day every, every couple of weeks or something like that. I think that's frequent enough. And then I can do an immediate intermittent fasting day after that, which is like 16 hours of fasting to kind of re-kickstart the fat burning process. When your body has apparently when your body has few carbohydrates as a source, things like sugars, starches, grains, and things like that, your body starts converting laboriously. It takes a while for this to happen, to convert your metabolism to start using stored fat, which is what we want, because we want to get rid of that stuff. And it's a matter of just like kind of eating enough so you're full but not overeating, which will still contribute, I think, to fat storage. So that's the part I hadn't figured out before. So I'm getting to the point where I can control my appetite a little bit better. So that's promising. What else is going on? Yeah, I'd just like to be able to go back to doing some other projects. Some new writing stuff, getting back to working on the blog. My dad's coming to visit in November, so there's some household cleaning stuff to do. I was looking at IKEA. I might do an IKEA run and get some more furniture for the back area there. Just figuring out some stuff right now, just to improve the space a little bit more. And then maybe start finally hosting some creative jam sessions with people. And there's a group of people that I hadn't actually considered before that might be into this, so I'm going to look into that and find out whether or not it's something that people would want to do, or if there's any interest with that. But there'll be more about that like in the future. So the last item of business today is just to look at this book that I've got here. So let me switch to Oxcam. I had forgot where I heard about this book. And typography is something that I find, I guess I find it interesting. Let's see if I can. So what can I say about typography? There are very few, or I found very few good typography books when I started getting into graphic design. The ones that I like have been released, I think, in the last 5 years or so, when I just got started learning about what the hell graphic design is, which was when I was an engineering student in college. The books that were available were kind of theoretical and not very inspiring, I would say. So let me put that there. While people are admiring the cover and looking this thing up, I'm going to pull up my graphic design book list and see what my other recommendations were. Graphic design book list, David Say. Let's see if Google finds that. My site is like so unranked these days. So it looks like it still is here. So this link is like, I guess I updated this quite some time ago. These are the foundational books that I found useful for me to understand graphic design and design in general. And here I even said I've always had trouble with typography books. The useful tips and concepts tend to be buried in acres of historical commentary. The basic layout books mentioned provide some basic, but if the missing primer is Alan Lupton's Thinking with Type, a critical guide for designers, writers, editors, and students. That's the accessible type book that I want. And like here's what the book I was trying to remember. Die New Typography, which was like this German book that was translated. Elements of Typographic Style. Dry. No fun. And considering that I got into typography in the era of when digital typography started to become a thing, these books like are well written before that. Before you had like magazines like Raygun come out and people just started making their own digital fonts. So let's take a look at this book and see what we've got in here. What I found appealing about reading about it was that it's gorgeously designed. It wasn't a cheap book, but this is one of those canonical reference books, I think, that I'll need. Let me see if I can get some more light on this. Okay, it helps a little bit. I've read about this on some online sites. But a guide to typeface tables from the 1450s to 2000 plus. It's a kind of a coffee table book reference. And yeah, this is a nice type specimen. I've had a few good type specimens in the past, but this one I think has like the history that I now like, and it's a nice big format. So I wonder if this is organized. Oh yeah, this is organized by year, it looks like. Yeah, right. I just saw that in the table of contents. So nice. It'd be nice to just be able to become familiar with this. If you like letter forms and stuff like that, I mean, this is the book for you. Let's see if we can get a little closer on this. So, excuse me while I adjust this. Okay. I can get that down a little bit more. So, what am I looking at here? Apologize for the instability of this. Yeah, I'm using a microphone stand to do this. So you can see, like, there's things like the specimen here. These are Fracture fonts, German. And it is a nice book. The pages are like nice and matte, not glossy. So we're in 1788 now. It's not locking very well. So now we're in 1900s. Oh, now you're getting like stuff like this. This is a font I'm not familiar with. A lot of these fonts I'm not familiar. Cheltenham I've seen. And it looks like it's looking down here. Yeah. So this will be a fun book. Well, my definition of fun. To look at the history of all these typefaces to have a better working knowledge of it. And like I like how this is in chronological order. Like as I mentioned, like this is the year 1922 when this font was introduced. So seeing the history, the sweep of changes in graphic design, or at least in typography. These are the kind of things I like. And at the time I was in engineering school, and then when I switched to fine arts afterwards for grad school, these were the kind of historical things I wanted to see. I wanted to see the context of the development of design, and then what people thought. There were books that talked about the theory and composition, but they tended to be isolated into schools, and I didn't have a sense of, well, schools of thought, and I didn't really have a sense of how they all connected with each other. I had some wonderful professors, so I wish I'd talked to them more, like the late Professor Heinz Klinken at RIT. He is, my model for what a graphic design professor should be. I want to be like him. So what is this? This is all Helvetica. Is there more than one page for it? Helvetica. No, they kept it to one page. The layout of this is nice too. I don't know if I would. No, it's fine. I was looking for things to nitpick. But no, this is nice, clean layouts. That's interesting use of the baselines. Or 1963. Ooh. Let's see the examples of the typefaces should become more interesting as time goes on. I like how they have this big piece of like, here's an example of the piece in use. So now we're in what year is this? Impact. It actually doesn't have the year now. Oh, there's an interesting connections section too. I like how they've used the year as a reference. Like they're saying Fritz Quadrata, which is a font I remember using in school for something, 1965. They're saying the connections to Latin circa 1870. Albertus ITCT Polo in 1987. Infinity in 2015. So you can get a sense of like maybe how these typefaces were influenced by each other or influenced other typefaces. Wow, what is this? 1968, 1969. You can sense the I don't know if maybe I imagine this, but you're seeing changes in style. I mean, you still have this kind of quirky hand lettering feel to a lot of like I guess the 50s. 50s are pretty staid. Then you get into the 60s and you start to get some playful, more like variations and things. No, this font's from 1966. Look at that. Some of these were made possible by just developments in technology. Oh, look at this. That's interesting. In 1967. So what was the influence of this? Well, anyway, so 74. There's a feel to the characters, the typefaces. I mean, you still, in the 70s, you still had this, you started getting more into these kind of, how do you describe it? Simplified, less ornamental type forms, but there were still variations that people insisted on putting in line thicknesses and weights. You can, I don't know if you can see this, but just looking at this A and this G, this A is like the ascending aspects of it are kind of terminating in a point. And it makes me wonder, oh, you know, this is Bell Centennial. And I think of Bell Centennial as being a very unvarying font, but I didn't realize it had these little things in it, just probably to enhance legibility at small sizes. I mean, you wouldn't normally see something like this. I'm thinking, like, oh, how to read about this later. But the way that goes in there, but it's a way of emphasizing, you know, visually it'll look even, but you have to draw it like that for it to look right at the size. You know, those are the kind of things that people don't notice anymore. 1979, 1980, you know, what is this? FE Schrift. ITC Narverse. We're 1980s now, 1986. So 1986 is about when I graduated from high school. It'll be interesting to see what kind of typefaces were in vogue then. This is Avenir. I should start recognizing some of these things, some of these fonts as just being available in the typography word processors I had. This is nice. Oh, this is weird. Look at this font. This is Dutch Type Designers, an adaptation of an old style typeface constructed from only straight lines. Beowulf. Found font bits. That's weird. This is a photographic font? I think some of these are like these aren't all just available typefaces, but some of the conceptual ones. Trajan's from 1989? I thought it was much older. I was in grad school in 1990. I was in where was I? 1992, 93, that's when I was in school. So this is 90. I was in getting my MFA mini in 1990. FF Blur. So this is the kind of stuff I sort of remember from the 90s. You start getting into this kind of playful typography, I guess. Things that become possible with filters. Some of these are just like regular workhorse typefaces. I haven't heard of a lot of these. House Gothic. And so this is this from, yeah, this is from House Industries. This is an awesome company. When you started seeing like you have these garage boutique, design boutiques. This is nice. Interstate. Is this really for, this is a typographic voice? No, wait. Interstate is immediately identified as the American equivalent to Germany's road transport network typography. Huh. Interesting. The subtleties that go into this. Platelets. Comic Sans. They get the, yeah. Fontesque. This is like the best book ever. So I was like on the fence whether I should buy this or not. I think it was fairly expensive, like maybe $70 or something like that, but this is an educational resource, and I will be a more informed designer after this. This is like this, if I had a coffee table, this would be on it. Maybe I should get a coffee table just to have this book on that. That's not a bad idea. Now that I have the space for it back there. Replica, 2008. This is neat. Scotch Modern Museo. It's a font that I've always liked. Brandon Grotesque. Eames Century Modern. Another House Industries font. It'll be interesting to become familiar with some of the type houses that are around these days. Julian. Nokia Plus. Marion. Now we're in 2013. 2015. So that goes to 2015. Then it looks like there's a glossary. Glossary in the back. So this is a lovely, lovely, lovely type specimen book. The Visual History Type, the definitive survey of the development of letter form since the advent of printing with movable type in the mid-1400s. Yes. From lawrenceking.com. That kicks ass. Alright, so I think I'm done for now. That's what's going on with me today. Now I'm going to jump into some work. It's like 3 o'clock. It seems like I start my work day around 3 o'clock every day. But I am going to sleep around 6 in the morning, so it's maybe it's alright. I think I'm like on a Hawaii time still. Although I haven't been to Hawaii. I just end up in this schedule all the time. I don't know why. It just happens. So anyway, thanks for watching. And hopefully I'll have something interesting to report tomorrow. I'll try my best to do something that's not work-related. Maybe I'll play some Nier Automata and just kind of comment on it. That might be an interesting change of pace. So, with that, I will see you later. 4,000, 5,000. Gotta wait 10 seconds. Hey, kitty. 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. This is your banana. Stop it now.